Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a drill. Marines, yes, freaking Marines, real deal, combat ready U.S. Marines, they're already rolling into the streets of Los Angeles. Not because of an earthquake, not because of a foreign invasion, but because American citizens have just turned violent. Chaos has erupted over immigration raids. Federal officers have been assaulted. Protesters are now blocking highways. They're burning U.S. flags and they're setting cities on fire. So what did California Governor Gavin Newsom do about it? Well, he didn't call for calm. He didn't thank law enforcement. In fact, this guy, Governor Gavin Newsom, he dared President Trump to arrest him. That's right, guys. On live camera, Gavin Newsom shouted to the nation, "Come and get me. Arrest me." Let me know if y'all think that Trump should actually go after Gavin Newsom and actually arrest him. Let me know in the comments, guys. Now, Today, Tom Homan, former ICE director and national security bulldog, just responded, and he's not mincing words at all. So in today's video, you guys are going to see how, or more importantly, the why behind these 700 Marines were activated under President Donald J. Trump. You're going to hear the exact moment that Gavin Newsom threw gasoline on the fire and dared the federal government to come after him. And then, of course, I'm going to break down exactly what Tom Homan's response was. This was really one that sent shockwaves through Washington, D.C. and Sacramento, California. He says this isn't a political stunt. He says it could cross the legal line. What do y'all think, guys? So here's the real kicker. Gavin Newsom isn't backing down. In fact, he's suing the Trump administration, accusing the president of violating California's sovereignty. And he's claiming this is all just a smokescreen for authoritarianism. Woo! I don't know, guys. Meanwhile, you got federal sources are saying that these riots were triggered by ICE agents busting a major cartel-backed money laundering scheme. Guys, these weren't random arrests. They got gang members, sex offenders, and one of the most illegal traffickers in the country. And I think you guys probably remember his name, right? Let me know if you remember his name from the previous video in the comments down below. But instead of celebrating all of this, protesters, they lit fires, they shut down freeways, they threw bricks at law enforcement, and now Tom Homan, his warning is very clear. No one is above the law. Not governors, not mayors, not protest leaders. So if you cross the line, there will be consequences. Now, later in this video, I want to share with you guys Gavin Newsom's viral meltdown. Guys, I also want to break down the legal basis for the troop deployment, how President Trump's White House is actually preparing for this lawsuit against Gavin Newsom. And of course, I want to share with you guys the shocking protest that just happened inside of Trump Tower. Yeah, this war just went national. So if you guys appreciate the daily news updates, please take a second, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Guys, this is not about left versus right anymore. No, this is way bigger than that. This is about whether the law still means anything. You know, whether the military should be used on US soil and whether a governor can literally challenge a sitting president to arrest him on live television and walk away untouched. So stick with me, guys. Oh, and drop a 47 in the comments down below if you support President Trump's crackdown, or a yes if you think Gavin Newsom's crossed the line and he should be held accountable. Don't forget to hit the like button, share this video. I really appreciate you guys, because what happens next could literally change the relationship between states and the federal government forever. Now, if you're wondering if Chapter is worth it, just know that someone in your shoes already called. Nancy, for example, she left me a comment in a previous video. She said, "Chapter just saved me $600 a year. I am 78 years old and now paying $1,510 per month for rent. This savings may allow me to stay in my home." God bless you, Nancy. I'm glad you had a positive experience with Chapter. Darlene Walraven also called in, or left me a comment. She said, "Ron, thank you so much for letting me know, saving me $200 a year and lowered everything." Jamie from Texas, she saved $600 after getting some real help, no gimmicks. Guys, this is not just another Medicare call center. No. Chapter, they check every plan. The help that they offer is completely free. You really can't lose. So give our friends at Chapter a call right now. Phone number is 909-563-8279, or better yet, visit them on the web at askchapter.org/Ron. Link in the description down below this video. It's almost hard to say this, guys. Let me just go ahead and be real, okay? This is not just some other political skirmish. This is a moment that we're going to look back on as the day that the lines were drawn, okay? Because what's happening in Los Angeles right now now, it's not just immigration. It's not just about protests. This is about what happens when a state defies a sitting president and the U.S. military rolls in. The Marines, guys, 700 Marines. Okay, so it all began with this routine ICE operation, or at least it was supposed to be routine. Agents were serving some criminal warrants on a business under federal investigation, allegedly funneling millions of dollars in cartel cash. Well, this wasn't about paperwork violations. These were real dangerous suspects, guys. So here's who ICE took down: a registered sex offender with prior convictions, a known gang enforcer tied to armed robbery, and a suspect money launderer sending funds to Colombia and Mexico. And yet, what did we get in return? Violence, fires, full-scale riots. The city went from calm to chaos in just hours. Guys, protesters, they started storming the streets of downtown LA. American flags were being set on fire. Self-driving Wemo taxis were getting torched on live TV. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. In California, there's a highway called 101 Freeway. It's a major California artery. It was shut down in both directions. LAPD officers reportedly being struck with bricks, cinder blocks, and unknown liquids. Who knows what kind of liquids those were. The footage was showing these protesters wearing masks and tactical gear, even some of them communicating with radios. So clearly this was coordinated. So it makes you wonder, like, who put this whole thing together? This was clearly deliberate, guys. The LAPD chief, they came out publicly and he said his department was overwhelmed, that without help, they couldn't contain this thing. Federal officers were already under siege and the pressure was clearly mounting at this point. That, my friends, is when President Donald Trump stepped in. Now, I want to ask you, ever feel like you're stuck in a rigged game? You know, you start with no tools, you kind of grind through the levels for years, you collect little wins like a pay raise here, maybe a new title, but you're still in the same box. Meanwhile, the bosses at the top, right? These bosses at the top, they're playing a completely different game with cheat codes. This is exactly why I built the Liberty Pursuit Network, guys, to hand the controller back to you. It's time to stop grinding inside of somebody else's system and build your own. So click the link in the pinned comment down below or in the description and join the Liberty Pursuit Network. Escape the 9-to-5 grind and get your freedom back today, guys. So President Trump didn't wait for permission. He didn't ask Gavin Newsom to approve because the situation had already spiraled out of control. And so, using federal authority under Title 10, President Trump ordered the deployment of 700 U.S. Marines from the 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines at 29 Palms just outside of Los Angeles. Let me be very clear about this, guys. These are not riot police. These are not some weekend National Guard reservists. These are combat-tested Marines trained for war. They're now being sent into an American city. Some people are saying that, you know, this is one step away from martial law. You let me know what you think on that. But they're backing up the 2,000 National Guardsmen who were already activated across the city. And President Trump, he didn't blink. He told reporters, look, hey, we got in just in time. You wouldn't have seen a problem like, you know, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time. Then he added this very chilling line: if they spit on our guardsmen, they'll be hit harder than they've ever been hit. Wow, that's a threat if I've ever heard one. But President Trump, he was essentially sending troops into the fire. Gavin Newsom was not backing down. Not at all. Gavin Newsom, he went full defiance mode, this Gavin Newsom guy. Now, I don't know if you like Gavin Newsom. Some of y'all love Gavin Newsom. I know a lot of people don't like him. I don't know where you stand, but I'm not even trying to get into that. But I tell you what he did do. Gavin Newsom, that guy, he filed a lawsuit. He jumped on social media so fast, and then he stood on camera and he shouted out, "Come and get me, arrest me." I'm surprised he didn't use the MF after that. I'm just saying, he's crazy. Now, you're not going to believe what happened next, and neither did Tom Homan. So we need to talk about Gavin Newsom's lawsuit, this viral meltdown, his accusations of President Trump being an authoritarian, and of course, the moment that Tom Homan fired back. So now the Marines, they're on the move. Federal troops are en route. Protesters are escalating, and all eyes turn to Sacramento, expecting Governor Gavin Newsom to say what? Thank you for your support. Let's restore peace. Not even close, guys. Instead, Gavin Newsom, he goes full DEFCON 5 on the Trump administration. Instead of addressing the violence in the streets, he aims every ounce of political energy at the President of the United States. Within hours of the Marine deployment being confirmed, California files a formal lawsuit suing the Trump administration for what Gavin Newsom calls an illegal invasion of state jurisdiction. You gotta be kidding me. I know, that's what they did though. According to California's Attorney General Rob Bonta, the lawsuit argues This move violates both state sovereignty and the Constitution. That's what they say. That's what they're doing, guys. So the president is bypassing the law, throwing gasoline on a fire for political theater, according to Attorney General Rob Bonta from California. So Trump is not sending help. He's sending a message. And it's one of fear, it's one of intimidation and federal overreach, according to Gavin Newsom. Those are not my words. Those are Gavin Newsom's words. But what law exactly are they contesting, right? Like President Trump, he authorized this deployment using Title 10 of the U.S. Code, which gives the president the authority to use military forces to enforce federal law, particularly in cases where state leadership refuses to act. Now, it's been used before in the civil rights era to enforce desegregation laws when state leaders stood in the way. The difference, though, Gavin Newsom is saying that there is no rebellion here, just protest. Trump is saying the rebellion already started, and it's being fueled by Gavin Newsom himself. Now, I don't know what you call rebellion, guys, but when you see, bricks and liquids and all sorts of other items getting thrown at police officers, what do you call that? Can I get a yes or no? Is that rebellion? Anyway, so the American public caught in the crossfire of lawsuits, and more lawsuits while buildings are burning, flags are torched, and innocent people get hurt in the streets of Los Angeles. It's crazy, right? But that still wasn't even the peak. No, what really grabbed the headlines wasn't filed in a courtroom. It was actually shouted on camera. In what might be probably the most reckless moment of his political career, Governor Gavin Newsom of California, he appeared on camera staring down the federal government and mocking the idea that he could be held accountable. He said, and I quote, "Come and get me, tough guy. You want to arrest me? Do it, but you better shoot straight." Hey, then, just to make sure that the media didn't miss it, he posted the clip across his social media accounts with this caption saying, "Trump is threatening to arrest a sitting governor for speaking out. This is a day I hoped I'd never see in America." What is this guy doing, right? Gavin Newsom wasn't just defying the president. He's framing himself as the victim. Please tell me you see this. If you do, just let me know, guys. He's claiming that troop deployments, riot control, immigration enforcement are nothing more than a power grab by Trump to silence dissent. He called it a line that cannot be crossed. He compared it to authoritarian regimes, and of course, the legacy media immediately swooned in. CNN, of course, Newsom stands tall in the face of tyranny. MSNBC said, a modern day resistance. Here's the problem, guys. That resistance, it's unfolding while Marines are being attacked. Federal buildings are being surrounded and ICE agents are literally calling for backup. And while Gavin Newsom's talking about lines being crossed, there are actual laws being broken on the streets below him. And that's where Tom Homan steps in. No grandstanding, no social media drama, just one of the most experienced law enforcement officials in the country stepping up to say, hey, governor, or not, if you cross the line, you're not above the law. So I want to show you what Tom Homan said in response to Gavin Newsom's dare, why he's not ruling out prosecution and just throwing his butt in jail, and how the Trump administration is using this moment to expose decades of Democrat lies about ICE, law enforcement, and national security. Now, if you guys are just now joining the live, please do me a quick favor, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. So Gavin Newsom shouts, "Come and get me." He files a lawsuit. He calls the Marines some illegal invasion. But while Gavin Newsom plays political victim, Tom Homan, he ain't playing games. He's just not. Now, if you want to know who Tom Homan is, let me go ahead and cue you in right quick, all right? Tom Homan, former acting director of ICE, 33 years in federal law enforcement. The guy personally led deportation operations under the Trump administration. And when reporters asked him if Newsom or LA's Mayor Karen Bass could be arrested for interfering in federal law enforcement operations, he didn't hesitate. Nobody is above the law. If you aid or abet illegal activity, I don't care if you're a protester or a politician, you can and should be prosecuted. I think that's pretty clear. Tom Homan explained that harboring illegal aliens, obstructing ICE, or refusing to cooperate with federal arrests, they're not just moral debates, they're felonies. I didn't write the law. And while he clarified that there is no current order to arrest Gavin Newsom, he did make it clear. If Newsom or Bass crossed the line, if they interfered with federal operations, they can be prosecuted, period. And let's talk about what's really being ignored here. While Newsom throws lawsuits and tantrums, ICE was out there making the streets safer. That's what the media will not tell you. So this whole operation that sparked these riots, it wasn't some random roundup, guys. ICE was serving criminal warrants as a part of a larger investigation into cartel finance money laundering. And the results, well, one registered sex offender with a history of child abuse captured, one armed robbery suspect linked to cartel enforcement taken down, several confirmed gang members and human trafficking suspects now off the streets. These weren't families being torn apart. These were predators, felons, and criminal assets being removed from the community. Or how about criminal liabilities? Yeah. That's more like it. So what did Gavin Newsom do? Well, of course, he accused ICE of being fascists, called their arrests inhumane. He also accused the Marines of acting like stormtroopers. It's kind of a funny movie back in the day. I don't know if anybody happened to see that movie back in the day. Anyway, meanwhile, you got law enforcement, being physically attacked, federal buildings breached, riots lighting up every corner of downtown Los Angeles. And so this is why Trump sent in the Marines. This is why Tom Homan spoke up, guys, because if this administration stood by and did nothing, cities would burn. You remember what Tim Walz did in his hometown, right? Cities would burn, ICE agents would be lynched in the media, and no one would be held accountable. But not under President Trump. So Tom Homan's response was more than a press quote. It was a legal warning shot. And whether or not Gavin Newsom ever gets handcuffed, well, that remains to be seen. But I think the message from Washington, D.C. is now loud and clear. You interfere with law enforcement, you cross the line, you get held accountable. Whether you're wearing a mask or you're holding a governor's title or not. But of course, none of this is going unanswered. Kamala Harris, Karen Bass, even AOC and Ilhan Omar. You know what they're doing, right? They're all calling this a soft coup, an authoritarian takeover. And some on the left are even floating impeachment talk. Again, okay? So do you think Trump should be impeached? Or do you think Ilhan Omar should be impeached? Or maybe Gavin Newsom? Or how about LA Mayor Karen Bass should be impeached? Who do you think should be impeached? But the left, they're going ballistic, guys. They're accusing Trump of the wildest things. They're accusing Trump of doing exactly what they hoped that he would do, crack down hard. Almost immediately, guys, top Democrats, they rushed to the cameras. Kamala Harris, it's like, where's she been, right? So Kamala Harris came out the woodworks, called the deployment of troops an undeniable act of authoritarianism, and then she word salad souped us. Karen Bass, mayor of Los Angeles, she said that the president has no right to override local authority. He is not restoring order. He is seizing control. And of course, you already know what Gavin Newsom said. This is a step toward authoritarianism. This is no rebellion. No justification, just raw political theater. No rebellion? I want you to tell that to the LAPD officers who were hospitalized after getting bricks thrown at their heads, okay? Tell that to the ICE agents who were surrounded and attacked while serving felony warrants. Tell that to the business owners who watched their stores burn to the ground while politicians gave press conferences. They're not calling for peace, guys. They're calling for Trump to stand down, and they're doing it in front of the TV cameras while the streets are still on fire. If this is ringing true to you guys right now, please share this video because they're not trying to tell you the truth on mainstream media news networks. Guys, the phrase they keep repeating, you probably heard this isn't law and order, this is martial law in disguise. And it's not just Gavin Newsom saying this. The same crowd that cheered BLM riots in 2020 is now screaming that Marines walking past the graffiti-covered buildings means we're suddenly a dictatorship. So maybe if they took a moment to stop lighting stuff on fire, they'd probably realize, hey, this is what happens when you ignore the law long enough. It eventually shows up in uniform. So now, let's talk to Trump, right? Because he wasn't just going to stay quiet, right? Trump is not going to do that. And why should he? When reporters asked him if he'd consider backing off after the lawsuit, President Donald J. Trump looked straight into the camera and said, if they spit on our National Guardsmen, they will be hit harder than they've ever been hit. It's lucky for the people of California that we got in when we did. He added that Gavin Newsom should be thankful, not suing, that without federal response, Los Angeles would have collapsed into anarchy. And then he said this, I almost feel like Gavin Newsom is like the child, and you let the child do his own thing, you try to leave him be, but then if he gets out of control, then the parent has to step in the room and kind of regain order. I feel like that's Trump. Trump is the parent and Gavin Newsom is like the child. Does anybody agree with me in that analogy? Anyway, so Trump, he said this, we're not going to let violent mobs burn cities and attack our law enforcement officers just because politicians are too weak or too politically afraid to act. Okay. And that's the line right there, guys. Because this moment, it's not about who's right. It's about who has the spine to do what's right? Who's got the balls? Trump sent the troops, Homan sent the warning, and Newsom filed a lawsuit and filmed the dare. So the question becomes, who's really acting like the adult in the room? But don't go anywhere, guys, because of course we need to talk about the whole public opinion swinging wildly, and of course the arrest Newsom trend is exploding. Polling is now showing that Americans are picking sides real fast. Some people are getting on Gavin Newsom's side. Some people are getting on Trump's side. Some people are getting on, getting behind Kamala Harris and LA Mayor Karen Bass. Whose side are you on, guys? Oh, and the media caught in the middle, desperately trying to control the narrative, but they're failing to contain the backlash. Hey, I want you guys to look down in the comments and see what other people are saying. Look what people are saying. That's the truth right there, guys. So while politicians are playing their games, while Newsom shares or dares Trump to come and get him and arrest him, and while the media tries to spin this thing into some dystopian power grab, the American people, well, they've made themselves loud and clear. Almost instantly after Gavin Newsom's coming get me challenge hit the airwaves, a hashtag exploded across social media platforms like wildfire. Hashtag arrest Newsom. Thousands of posts, millions of views, trending, top 3 nationwide. He dared the sitting president to come and arrest him. If that's not incitement, then what is, right? So wait, we're supposed to just let governors shelter criminals, attack ICE, block law enforcement, and say, oh, well, we've had enough, guys. Arrest Gavin Newsom. He's gone too far. Can I get an arrest Gavin Newsom in the comments? And it wasn't just tweets and Telegram groups. People were calling into radio shows. Comment sections flooded. Local protests even began outside of Gavin Newsom's office, not from the left, but from the fed up Californians, the actual residents of California. Guys, they're tired of the double standards. They're tired of politicians acting like celebrities while their cities are burning. They're tired of leaders who defend violent mobs more than they defend their own law enforcement. Now, I want you to think about this, right? Think about this for a second, right? How many mayors and governors over the past 5 years have actively told ICE agents to stand down? How many have declared their cities sanctuaries for people actively breaking federal law? Now, I want you to think about some cities, that come to mind. Chicago, New York City, obviously Los Angeles. There are many more. But now, when the consequences catch up to them, they cry tyranny. When the federal government steps in, America sees it, and America's calling the BS. Now, I want to talk about this whole media reaction because this has become essentially a textbook case for narrative collapse, guys. CNN spent 2 full segments comparing Trump to authoritarian leaders. MSNBC had analysts warning of a constitutional crisis, and yet, they never aired the body cam footage of officers being ambushed. They never showed ICE's list of criminal arrests, the gang members, the sex offenders, the cartel mules. They sure didn't show you video of American flags burning in the streets of LA while protesters screamed F America. They didn't do none of that. They're too busy crying about optics, about uniforms, about Trump acting too fast. So here's what the media doesn't want to talk about. New polling numbers just dropped, and they're brutal. Trump's approval rating jumps 6 points overnight in California. Support for use of federal troops to stop riots at 71% nationwide. Among independents, 62% say Newsom went too far with this arrest dare. So you know what that means, right? The same people who stayed silent when cities were burning, the same voters who let it slide when politicians mocked ICE, the same independents who said, oh, I just want peace. They're done waiting. They're backing Trump. They're backing the Marines. They're backing law and order. Ladies and gentlemen, what are you backing? Let me know. Of course, I cannot forget to talk to you guys about what could possibly bring more Marines to be deployed across other cities. Will Trump invoke this Insurrection Act? And is Gavin Newsom positioning himself for a 2028 runoff in this whole chaos? Oh, and of course, the Democrat establishment about to get split over how far is too far. Guys, so I gotta ask you, where do we go from here, right? I mean, we got Marines deployed inside of a U.S. city. We got a governor suing the commander-in-chief. We have media meltdown in full swing. The American public is waking up real fast, right? Sources inside the Pentagon say another 500 Marines from Southern California are already on standby, fully equipped, prepared to move if needed. And depending upon how this plays out, guys, we may see similar deployments in other hotspots like Portland, Chicago, even New York City, where ICE agents are already reporting rising tensions around immigration arrests. How many months has President Trump been president? Look at what's happening here in America, guys. Is it time to get out of America? Bottom line, this is no longer a California-only crisis. It's nationwide, guys. This is national now. Now, I want you to look. Look at this, right? You got President Trump. He's already deployed forces under Title 10. But if this spirals further, if Democrat governors keep obstructing federal law, the Insurrection Act becomes a real possibility. I'm just calling it what it is. And by the way, if you guys are just now joining live with me, please take a second, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That would give Trump even broader powers to suppress rebellion, protect federal assets, and even bypass state resistance legally and constitutionally. I mean, he hasn't said the word yet, but with the rhetoric from Gavin Newsom and the violence on the ground, I think the door is wide open. So let's talk strategy here. They're not talking about this, okay? They're not going to talk about this on TV. Let's talk strategy, folks. Some insiders believe Gavin Newsom's doing all of this, the lawsuit, the posturing, the arrest me theatrics, not to save California, but to build his national image as the new anti-Trump icon for 2028. Think about it. He's trying to play the victim, the martyr, the voice of the resistance, right? But here's the problem. It's backfiring because while he's grandstanding in front of the cameras, you got real California. They're watching their streets fall apart right now, and they're not applauding for this guy. They're asking, where were you when we needed protection? Why did it take federal troops that Trump deployed to restore order? And you're already seeing it, guys. Moderate Dems, they're terrified of the defund ICE, defund the police base. But they know deep down, most Americans, they want order, not anarchy. And Gavin Newsom's gamble, it may just tear their Democratic Party apart. Look, AOC, Elon Omar, Karen Bass, they're all doubling down on rhetoric, but other Democrats, they're staying silent because they don't want to go down with the ship. This is like the Titanic, and the guys with the instruments, the musicians, they're out on the perimeter of the ship and they're all playing. I'm just saying, we're watching a battle unfold here, guys, a battle between law and chaos, a battle between federal accountability and political theater, a battle between leaders who protect this country and leaders who protect their careers. President Trump sent in the Marines, guys. Tom Homan fired the warning shot. Tom Homan, guys, he fired the warning shot. The American people are rallying behind law and order like never before. And Gavin Newsom, he wanted to make a scene, which he did. He wanted to be the story, which he is. Well, guess what? He is all of those things. And now we're watching to see if the story ends with handcuffs or headlines. So guys, drop me a 47 in the comments if you stand with President Trump, with our troops, and with the rule of law. Drop a yes if you believe Gavin Newsom crossed the line and should face consequences. Maybe it be jail time, a fine, maybe he has to step down, impeachment. And hit the like button if you're tired of being lied to, tired of the games, and you're ready for America to get its spine back. This is not just politics anymore, guys. This is history and you're living it. Appreciate you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe, share this video, please. We'll see you guys next time.